Hello, propnex clients. My name is Adam Bryan from Fraser's Property Australia. I'm joining you today from Melbourne, Australia. And today I'm going to give you an overview, firstly, an introduction to our business, Fraser's Property, an overview of the Australian and the Melbourne market, and also introduce you to one of our newest master plan communities that we've recently just launched to the market. So that little introduction where you saw Fraser's Property 100 years, it is our 100th year of developing property within Australia. Now, some of you that may have heard of the Fraser's name overseas, it's not only projects and development throughout Australia, we're also involved in hospitality through Fraser Suites, which are an international business, our own development throughout Singapore, Thailand, in a number of other countries as well, and also our commercial and industrial division within Australia as well. So really the strength of our business, we're very strong in creating a really successful formula now of developing master planned communities. And we do that with really trying to create a place, as it says here on the slide, of belonging, really emphasising that care for our clients and creating an environment basically where people want to live. Because if we can create that, it's going to result in a fantastic outcome for all our clients. Now, across Australia, we've actually built over 145,000 homes, and we've had numerous award-winning communities throughout Australia. Feature and key flagship projects in Sydney, one of the best known apartment buildings called Central Park in Sydney. Master plan communities throughout Brisbane and Queensland. Western Australia, we also have our projects, and of course in where I work, our flagship here was Burwood Brickworks, which is now complete. An amazing master plan community, a great example of the quality of what Fraser's Property as a developer can deliver. In Australia, we have a leading governing body in the property industry called the UDIA, and it was only a few months ago they awarded this project in Victoria not only one of the best projects in Victoria for our medium density and our townhouse precinct within this community, but it was awarded the best project in Australia. So amazing result for our company, and a tick of approval, and that recognition of having a fantastic project was, a great addition to the Fraser's Property community that we've added within Australia. As an example, and this is talking about getting that formula right in our master plan communities, in Burwood, This is our Burwood Brickworks community. Townhomes that we sold off plan back in 2018. Recent sale, well over 1.3. So to give you an understanding of the opportunity and the potential capital growth, which most of our investors from overseas want, this is an indication of where the potential is when you create these master plan communities, when you get them right. If we just take a quick look to start with on the Australian market. Now, the Australian market has got a history of really strong fundamentals, really strong performance, particularly when you compare it worldwide. One of the fundamentals of the Australian market is its growing population. And that growing population has supported price growth in the market of Australia. It's been also consistent and very stable in terms of our economy in Australia, which again is what most investors are looking for. You don't want a volatile market. Again, one of the key reasons to support capital growth and price growth is population. So really, other than that COVID lockdown period, if you look at the Australian market, it's consistently delivered, strong numbers of immigration and strong growth in population within Australia. One of the great aspects of the Australian economy and the Australian market has been its resilience and stability. And there's been several factors for that, and we'll just point out a couple of factors in these next couple of slides. But in Australia, there's a very strong emphasis within our community of our residents wanting to own their own home. So we have a significant amount of property that is what we call owner occupied. So that actually creates a better market when you don't have a huge investor market. Secondly, as we've mentioned there, for housing demand, you need population growth for that demand. That will then gain you capital growth, as I mentioned. One of the keys in the Australian market is the majority of our population is around our major cities and our major capital cities. And we'll talk about Melbourne more within this presentation. Another key factor to the Australian market overall is not only that stability, but also that in terms of economic management and in terms of our lending and our legislation in place, it's very strict in terms of its guidelines, which again is taking out a lot of that risk in our market. And history showed us that within our market, we haven't seen price dropping more than 20% in 1 year. And I'll show you a fantastic overview of how the Australian market has performed shortly. Here we are. So this is going right back to 1975, but it's a great overview of how the Australian property market has grown and performed for close to 50 years, let's say. And you can see that consistency and that steady growth right throughout if you ran a ruler up alongside that growth in that table. So really strong story there of how the Australian market has performed. So moving on to the Melbourne market and what's happening in Melbourne at the moment. If we look at the Melbourne market, again, I like to break it down to the fundamentals and what history has shown creates capital growth. And typically it's 3 items that will lead to your capital growth. Firstly, you need significant infrastructure spending. Secondly, you need demand, you need population growth. And thirdly, supply. Where does supply sit in the market? So if you look at Melbourne currently, we've got those three boxes ticked. At the moment, Melbourne and Victoria as a whole has the fastest growing population in Australia. And I'll show you some information on that shortly. And it's also predicted to continue. In terms of supply, building approvals, land supply is significantly lower than what it has been. Land supply is 35% below it has been. And building approvals are at one of their lowest levels. So low supply, significant demand through population growth generally will then lead to that capital growth story we just spoke about. Also, that key about infrastructure we spoke about. And in Victoria at the moment, we've got over $100 billion of infrastructure projects underway in Victoria. And that results in better livability. And if anyone knows about Melbourne, typically we're ranked in the top 3 most livable cities in the world. And we've been in that criteria for some time now. So understanding the market, here I'm just honing in just to give you a bit of a snapshot how other cities in Australia have been performing. And you can see again that Australian story, the market has continued to grow and prosper, which is great news for anyone that's purchased within Australia over the last few years. But if you particularly have a look at the growth out of Brisbane, Perth, Sydney, but Melbourne has lagged behind. So it's interesting to see these different property cycles and compare them within Australia. But what we've found in particularly the Perth and Brisbane market over the last few years, significant population growth occurred, okay? Then significant infrastructure spending, which led to high demand for the rental market, rental increases, and then prices went up. So a lot of our property experts that we're speaking to and our analysts in the market that we're speaking to at the moment is starting to look at the Melbourne market as a great opportunity, that the Melbourne market is currently undervalued and it could be the next market to have that upturn and that growth cycle that other cities have experienced. So what we're starting to see in the Melbourne market is we're just starting to see what we call some green shoots and some positivity about the Melbourne market. And I can tell you in my role, we work with a number of large agents, investor groups, right throughout Australia and internationally. And I would suggest that 12 months ago, a lot of these groups were working in Brisbane and Perth. And now what we're finding is a lot of those groups are coming back to Victoria and chasing me for product, stock, homes to fulfill the needs of their investors. So an interesting shift in the market of particularly over the last, I would say, 6 months into Melbourne. So as I mentioned, we want to show you, the data and the factual evidence of what's happening in the market. So here, as I mentioned, in terms of population growth, significant population growth has come in to Melbourne as the fastest growing city in Australia last year. And interestingly enough, that consistent growth is planned to continue in Melbourne. Now, some of you that may know the Australian market, Sydney and Melbourne typically. Sydney is typically dearer, Melbourne usually not far behind. But what we have seen with that slowdown in the Melbourne market is a significant gap between Sydney and Melbourne. But again, our analysts are saying we think that gap's going to narrow, and we think that Melbourne market is going to grow substantially, and we'll talk about the timing of that, given what we just spoke about in the previous slides. So I mentioned earlier about rental market, because what often happens is this new population coming into Perth, Brisbane, Melbourne. Initially, a lot of that population doesn't buy straight away. Often they will rent first, the new residents, and then they'll buy it later. So we often see that rental increase with that demand increasing with that increased population. And in Melbourne, exactly what's happened, as you can see here with that shift in the rental market. Now, as I mentioned, in terms of analysts, we want to be, leading in terms of analysing the market and being on the front foot, so we can react as a business and as a developer. And the latest information we're gathering from leading analysts across the country that the Melbourne market is due to increase really from probably middle of next year. Let me just go back to that. Middle of next year, and bear with me one sec, and then increasing from there. I can't seem to get back to that slide, so we'll keep moving through. Now, other than that Melbourne story, what I'd like to start talking about now is being specific about the west of Melbourne and the location of the west of Melbourne and the inner west more specifically, because the project I want to introduce to you today, Bradmill Yarraville, is a suburb in the inner west of Melbourne. And interestingly enough, it's a very similar, really almost a mirror image in terms of that Melbourne market and the inner west, where again, the strength of the inner west, again, population growth. Lots of population coming into the west of Melbourne. You can see that here, and you've also got strong employment growth planned for the west of Melbourne. So very similar story in terms of opportunity and growth. Inner west of Melbourne is one of the fastest growing growth corridors at the moment in the Melbourne market. Now, if we hone in now to Yarraville, that's the suburb of our new master plan community. And Yarraville, really interesting suburb. It's a very much what we call a blue chip suburb. We're only 6.5, 7 Ks from Melbourne CBD. And it's not a huge suburb of Melbourne. It's well established and great location. We're connected via our major freeways that makes Yarraville very accessible. The proximity to the city, universities in the CBD, very accessible via transport links from Yarraville straight into the city. So great location. Education's also very strong. We've got nearby healthcare and hospital precincts. So it is one of Melbourne's best suburbs. So in terms of a little snapshot of Yarraville, I've just put in some key data points that we've just spoken a little bit about. I think the value, and again, for some of you that may know a little bit about Melbourne, If you look at surrounding suburbs and suburbs, say, in the southeast of Melbourne compared to the inner west, there's a big price difference. So again, Yarraville, in terms of value for money and opportunity, is very, very good and very appealing to our local Melbourne residents. And a little bit more about some of the proximity we spoke about to universities, major infrastructures around the corner. So moving on, and I won't play all the videos today, but this is our new master plan community, Bradmill, Yarraville, that I'd like to introduce you to. Here is a great aerial view. It's a large master plan community, 26 hectares of land. You can see the terrific proximity there to the CBD and the freeway access just on the other side of our aerial view there. We'll talk about now what's included in this master plan. So if you look at the highlighted areas on our master plan here, this is our linear park. It's over 1/2 kilometre. There's a beautiful parkland setting that neighbours our community. So it will link and tie in beautifully. So if you can imagine, walking dogs or going for a walk in the morning or a jog, you've got some beautiful open space and parkland to enjoy within this community. Like a lot of our communities, we'll also be delivering a shopping precinct into Bradmill, Yarraville. So what we're talking about here is specialty shops, childcare, medical centre, cafes, restaurants, full-line supermarket and specialty shops. So all your conveniences are going to be at your doorstep here, which is the beauty of a master plan community with Frasers. I've also highlighted here our resident spaces. So again, one of the highlights within our communities is building these fantastic residence clubs, which offers gymnasiums, Pilates spaces, co-working spaces when you need to work from home, private theatres, lounge areas, and function rooms that you can book out. So it's really jam-packed with lots of amenities, again, to add value to only residents, and it's exclusive to residents within this community. So I'll just go through some images now of Bradmill, Yarraville. This is the overview of our shopping precinct, and this is the overview of our heritage and our residence club that I was just talking about. You can see these amazing spaces where we've got Pilates spaces, swimming pool, spa, sauna, steam room, beautiful outdoor spaces that you can enjoy, arcade spaces, private theatre, lounge areas that you can book out, function rooms that you can have birthday parties, any family gatherings, connect with all your neighbours and community within these function spaces. Really practical spaces are going to be really well utilised. And amazing lounge and dining areas as well that you can book out. This is that snapshot of co-working, which is really popular in Melbourne now. So if you have days that you need to work from home, you can wander down to these co-working spaces, which are amazing. Our townhomes, this is what is available within our community at the moment. So we will have a range of townhomes later on apartments, and all that amazing amenity will be delivered in the next few years. So with our townhomes, we have a range of 3 and 4 bedroom architect designed homes over 2 and 3 levels. I'm just going to show you a couple of feature designs. This is one that we have some amazing city facing homes. This is over 3 levels with, great balconies with views, open living spaces, really good private areas as well, which will offer 2 bedrooms and a retreat. And then we have some of our larger homes here. This is a 4 bedroom with its own backyard and front courtyard space. Interior. So our interiors, we've got 2 colour schemes, light and dark. I'm showing you here. All our homes are what we call full turnkey. They're ready to move into. So if it's for investment and you're looking to rent, we would just be handing the keys over to your property manager. Kitchens, bathrooms, everything's ready to move in and enjoy an amazing lifestyle that this community will offer. Again, well-appointed bathrooms, fully fitted out bedrooms with walk-in robes. It's going to be an amazing precinct. So for today, I hope that gives you a really good insight into Australian market, Melbourne market, and really a sneak peek of our Bradmill Yarraville master plan community. And really look forward to catching up with you all, and happy to answer any questions at a later time and catch up with you over Zoom or Teams or whatever suits for a quick chat. We're more than welcome to do that. For any other queries, obviously speak to the propnex team. And again, thanks for joining today, and have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.